This is a Roll to Hit Gaming unboxing. In this video, we'll crack open a game and show you what's inside. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Let's head into the game room for your Roll to Hit Gaming unboxing host.
Hey folks, this is Lucas from Roll to Hit Gaming, and today we'll unbox Fantasy Flight Games Runewars Miniature Game. Lift off the lid, and this is one of the Rebellion sized boxes, and it's chock full to the top. So let me set this aside and then we'll go through it piece by piece. As usual, we start off with the new Fantasy Flight catalog. And the first of 3 reference books. This is the typical Learn to Play book. The rules reference for more detailed information. And new for this one is the lore guide, which I'm going to guess is the story behind the rune-bound world. And here are the token sheets. Start off with a range ruler, which has an angled edge to fit in the corner of your bases for your firing arcs. And here are a large set of the dials. As usual, Fantasy Flight figures a way to put dials into another game, and this will be your maneuvers and modifiers. And then around the edges are the lore tokens. Here are some of the undead dials, and then in the center here a piece of 2D terrain or a forest, and then some kind of altar. And here's another piece of the 2D terrain and templates, which are very similar to the flight path templates in the popular X-Wing game, so a lot of promise there. I enjoy that system. And there are 3 bags of the attachable figure bases. As you can see, these clip right together, come apart, and then these are for the infantry, so 4 small figures go on each one of the infantry bases. These are the cavalry size bases, and 2 larger figures go on those. And they call these siege units, and these are typically large figures. The golem and the carrion come in the core box. Alright, there are stands and the middle pieces for the dials, and then a series of dice very similar to those in Armada or Imperial Assault. And here is a large stack of the upgrade cards, and each one tells you what it does, has a points cost and below, very similar to those in X-Wing. And these are morale cards, and when you're forced to draw these, you'll have some kind of negative effect put on your units. A large stack of those. And here are a stack of reference cards. Covers actions and modifiers, scenarios, tells you what the dice do, each one of the dice facings. And then we get into unit cards, which detail your units. Terrain information, Old Sworn Cavalry, and for every unit and terrain type and scenario, there are reference cards. And now we get to Fantasy Flight's shipping insert, the very well done yet useless insert in the middle to reveal our 2 bags of miniatures. And These don't require glue, so let me stick these together and I'll come back and show you what the figures look like. And we'll start with the Dakan Lord figures. There are 4 groups of spearmen, so 4 each of 4 different sculpts. And there you can see them attached to their movement tray. And as you can see, glue will be required because without it, their arms will come off. This is also the softer plastic, so the spears are quite bendy and a little wonky. That's pose 1. Pose 2. Pose 3. And pose 4. There are also 4 Oath-Sworn cavalry figures, and these fit 2 to a base. And there you see there are 2 each of 2 different poses. You see each of them here. And there's the second set. And here's the character Kari Wraithstalker. And it fits into, as you can see, this comes apart. Fits into this little diorama that makes it fit one of the larger bases. And here is the Rune Golem figure. This is the heaviest of them, pretty thick, so not a lot of bendy here. The separate pieces are the arms, and then he separates from his base as well. So that'll make him easier to paint. And now we'll take a look at the reanimate figures. There are 16, get a focus here, 16 reanimate warriors, 4 each in 4 different poses. And there's pose 1. Pose 2. Pose 3. And their swords are much shorter, so not a lot of bending going on there. And the same with their axes. This is the 4th group. Overall, the skeleton figures are really nice. And there are 2 different poses of archers, and these are a little more problematic to put together. They connect at the shoulders, so their 2 arms and bow are a separate piece from their body, and those connections are pretty small, so you can see the gaps there. Definitely going to require some glue and maybe even some modeling to make those look the way you want to. Arrows can be a little bendy. It's kind of going to be a problem when you use this plastic and make arrows, but that's the first group. The second group has their bows pointing down, drawing an arrow. So nice figures, but might require a little work. And this is the character figure. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. I'll put it down here somewhere. But same as before, it separates from its little diorama that makes it fit on the larger base. This dude's wielding a pair of axes. Pretty nice little figure. And the main event for the undead is the carrion rider. And you can see this thing's almost the size of my hand. Really thick, like the golem was. A little bendy on the rider's spear there, but the carrion itself is really solid, and it's 3 separate pieces. So, nice figure there. And that, folks, is what's inside the box for the Runewars Miniatures game. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Lucas. Have a great one.
Thank you for joining Roll to Hit Gaming for another unboxing. If you liked what you saw and want to see more, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Find us on Facebook and Twitter. Join in the conversation in the comments below.